I typically make a concentrated effort to keep my videos below 20 minutes long, and when I'm writing a script for a review, I found that a good rule of thumb is to keep the script at about 7 pages, because that's usually a good formula to come in at or below that 20-minute mark. However, when I was writing for my script for the Amazing Spider-Man 2 review, I ran into a problem. I had way too much for one video, but I didn't have nearly enough to split it into 2 parts. So here's my first deleted scenes video, the stuff that almost made it into the review, but didn't quite make the cut. Enjoy, and if you didn't see the full review, go watch it before I cut you! So Peter's got this friend named Stan who owns a comic book store. There are Spider-Man comic books and merchandise all over the store, and the descriptions for the alternate costumes all say that Spider-Man made them because he read a comic and liked the costume. I know this is one of those cutesy things that you're not supposed to think about, but this just boggles my mind. You're telling me that anybody can walk into this store, pick up a Spider-Man comic, read that Spider-Man is a guy named Peter Parker who takes photos of himself for the Daily Bugle, then pick up a copy of the Daily Bugle and see that a guy named Peter Parker takes otherwise impossible photos of Spider-Man in real life. Also, Peter isn't disturbed by the fact that the author of these books knows his name, knows his entire history, knows the names of his loved ones right down to the name of the girl he's dating, the name of a girl in his class that he's allegedly going to marry someday, and his best friend of his who turns out to be a supervillain. Also, Spider-Man has only been a superhero for 2 years. How is there not only already a series of comics, but several spin-offs and alternate versions of the comics already in print, and I've gone cross-eyed. I'm just wondering what happens when Spider-Man walks into the store and picks up a copy of One More Day. I think I'd pay to see that. You start the game with 3 costumes and unlock several others as you progress through the game and do side quests, even though you'll have beaten the game by the time you get most of them and you'll no longer have any use for any of them. Each suit has its own level and its own stats, which makes using each suit a different experience. In theory. Most of the stats have no noticeable impact on the game. Outside of the suits that heal faster, you'll notice no difference between them. Good idea, turn to crap. Every time you talk to a plot-important character, a little dialogue tree comes up and you have your choice of 3 questions to ask. These dialogue trees are completely pointless. You can ask any and all of the questions in any order and the game proceeds exactly the same if you ask all these questions as if you just end the conversation without asking any of them. These dialogue trees are just a ploy to make the game seem like it has more depth and to disguise exposition dumps as gameplay so players don't get mad. In this series' endless pursuit to rip off Arkham Asylum, there are journals from the various characters that you can find hidden through the levels, although collecting these journals leads to plot holes. You get a journal where Harry talks about having a terminal illness, and 2 hours of game time later when he tells Peter about it, Peter is still somehow surprised by the news. But here's what I don't get. Why the hell are Black Cat, Harry Osborn, Electro, the freaking Kingpin, A, keeping a diary in the first place, and B, leaving chunks of their diaries with their deepest, darkest secrets in random-ass places all over the city? In the Arkham games, the patient interview tapes at least make sense in the ways that you get them. Here it makes no sense at all. But what's really confusing is that some of the diary entries are from a detective who's investigating the gangs, and she talks about Mr. Negative, Hammerhead, and other supervillains who are not appearing in this game. And her final entry talks about how Spider-Man helped the police stop all of the gangs. I'm sorry, did that all happen in a different and much better game that we don't get to play? What the hell?
Spider-Man! No. It's up to me. His memory, using what he...
Criminal.